So I am doing this little tutorial on OBS, Open Broadcast Software. It's a great free software package for live streaming on the web, and since most of my audio colleagues are ending up having to do this suddenly, this will be specific to their needs, but other people might be able to pick up on some nifty tips for themselves. Let's get started right away. So this is OBS. We'll dig into some of these other things in a minute, but we're starting off here. So you have scenes, and each one of these scenes is going to have multiple input sources, and you'll see how to order those in a second. So you click on the plus sign here to add a source. We're going to jump on a video capture device right away. So this would be any kind of camera or like a Magwell USB sort of capture device. And just so you can see, I've got two cameras. I've got a teeny weeny little Logitech 615 hooked up, and I've got the FaceTime built-in camera just so we can see what it's like to switch between sources. Let's start with FaceTime. And there's me on your screen. You can change this, so select the device, go to settings, and you can change it to something else. That's a better looking camera picture, I think, so we're going to stick with this for now. But let's say you wanted to be able to switch between these two cameras. It's perfectly easy and simple to do. Probably the best way is to create another scene. We'll name it Scene 2. And then under Scene 2, I can add a video capture device. And this will be my FaceTime camera. So now, if I want to switch between two cameras, it's as simple as clicking on the two different scenes. And sorry, my office is a mess, but it's not supposed to be a television studio. This just kind of happened. The scene transition can be adjusted here. So if you wanted a hard cut, you can switch to cut. And then if I jump back and forth, there's my jump cut. Or maybe you like a longer or softer fade, but you can fool around with this. Let's say we want a half-second fade, right? So 500 millisecond fade, and there's a softer, kinder, gentler fade between the two scenes. Good. So you'll see this red border. I can click and drag to change the size of this if I want. We'll get into sizing things in a second. There's various ways you can go about it. Actually, under transform, I could make this be the entire screen, for instance, and then I'm all the way big. But that's not what we want to do yet. Normally, for live streaming software, you want your camera picture to be fairly small, and then you'll have your software here in the background. So I'm just dragging and repositioning myself all over the screen, as you can see. I'll put myself up here for now. Seems to be a good spot. Keep me out of the way. So let's say I wanted to add my Pro Tools windows here so I could show the students what I'm actually doing. You'd want to get your windows up first. So you call up your window. And then in OBS, you would add a window capture. I want to say right away, you could do a display capture. That'll instantly capture your entire screen. So if you're looking to do it that way, that's great, but do watch because you'll get the infinity screen if you go this way, right? And again, I could resize this on the transform, fit to screen, and that's what that would look like. But that's not what I'm interested in. I don't want to do the infinity screen. I'm going to select it, hit minus to remove. Yes. What I want to do is capture specific windows. So I'm going to go to a window capture, and we're going to call this PT Mix. Only if I spell it right. There we go. And then I can choose any of the open windows that I have. So for instance, I've already called up my mix window. I can do that, hit OK. Again, right click on it, transform, and I'm going to fit to screen. Now you'll notice you lost me, right? I'm not there anymore. Where did I go? Well, here I am. And if I want this to be overlaid, I simply move it up in importance here. And there I am. So this layering works that way. I can have multiple windows visible, but whatever I need to overlap, I need on top. So by making it less important, it will be behind my Pro Tools mix window. Of course, I could always resize the mix window, and there I am, but that's not what I want to do. So transform, fit screen, and then I'm going to move myself up so you see me. So right away, we've already got me on the screen and my Pro Tools mix window. You might say, great, but I don't hear anything. Well, you hear because the video is set for that, but you don't have any audio sources yet. For me, it was a little tricky because I'm not using the built-in microphone on my iMac. I am trying to use this Sennheiser 421. Once again, we add a device, and we would do an audio input capture. And so I could use my built-in microphone, in which case you see that I'm getting signal, but it's not from the 421, right? I could try to address the Fireface UFX directly, or I can try and do an aggregate. There's other programs which do this far better. So for instance, you could probably do some sort of loop back with Dante Via and Dante Virtual Sound Card. That would probably work great. I believe there's something called Soundflower, which works very much like the one I'm about to show you, which is loopback. The idea is you just need to be able to route various audio inputs to a virtual device and then use that virtual device as your input source. So let me show you loopback really quick. I'm going to select that and hit OK. And just so you can see, I am now using the Sennheiser 421 in front of me. So let me show you loopback really quick. Here is loopback. That's what it looks like. And so my Fireface, which has a lot of inputs, I'm only going to use 3 of them. So I've taken my input 9, which is my microphone, and I've routed it both to the left and right channels so that I'm not just coming out of your left ear or your right ear. And then I've taken 5 and 6 and routed them to left and right respectively. Why did I do that? Well, I'm taking advantage of something in Total Mix, because I don't want to route my main output back to itself. It's not going to work too well. Besides which, I am using that as my own monitor path, and that's not what I want to do. So in Total Mix, you do have this option to loop back a hardware output to its own software input. So I'm going to use my outputs from software on 5 and 6, which will take the output and then loop it back as an input, which allows loopback to access it basically on inputs 5 and 6, even though it's going out of output 5 and 6. Hopefully that didn't confuse you too much. It's also a handy way if you're trying to trick Pro Tools into using the MADI inputs on the UFX Plus. You can access those higher inputs by routing things to output pads, just so you know. So I'm going to close Total Mix now. Let me go here. And I'm going to route this to 5 and 6. And then if I hit play on this, let me just go here and let's see what 5 and 6 look like. I'm going to take it down a bit so I can do my mix here for you. So in OBS, you can see I'm getting some of the music on a low level, and when we get to the streaming part, you'll hear it. Good. All right, great. So I've got my audio input. I've got my video input. I've got my window capture or display capture, and let me let me add this to the equation too. So this way I can switch between the two windows should I like it. So for instance, on scene 2 now, let's say I want to be able to switch seamlessly between windows. There's 2 ways I can do this. I can add it in the same scene, do a window capture, and we'll call this PT edit. And of course, I'm going to grab the edit window. Good. And make it less important. Bang, bang, bang. And so if I want to switch between the windows, it's pretty simple actually. I can just select this window and make it less important. And now I'm on my edit screen. Forgot to resize it. Let's do that really quick under transform. Fit to screen. Or not. Oh, I forgot to select it. Fit to screen. It's fine. Does it either way. Instead of stretch the screen, it's the same thing. So now if I want to see the mix window, I can just select this, make it down, or put it up. And that's an easy way to switch between the 2 windows. Now, the other thing I could do is in scene 2, I could, if I want, make this the scene that has the mix window. Of course, I don't have any other input sources. I have to add all the input sources here that I had in the other one. So we do an audio input capture. That'll be off a loop back. There's that. And yep, I lost loop back there for a second. Let's see what's going on with that. I missed. That's why. There we go. So that's coming in off a loop back. And then of course I could add my window capture. And we'll do PT edit, right? I'm going to switch between these 2. Go. And resize it. And knock it down in importance. Even more. There we go. So I could be switching back and forth between this. So I'm going to take PT edit out of this, right? Because now it's my mix, that's my edit. So if you like the crossfade, that's great. I could make this the other camera, so all you're seeing is a jump between the 2. But whatever floats your boat and makes you happy. So now my jump between the 2 is not so dramatic. Let me make myself even smaller, diminish my presence on the screen. So this is one way you could handle it if you wanted to use scenes, or again, if you wanted to stay within the same scene and just make one window more important. That might be the easier way of dealing with it. You can create as many scenes as you need. Of course, you can rename them. You right click on them and rename. So I could call this one PT Mix. And it's not being happy with me. Or not. It's being obstinate. Usually this works fine, but whatever. You get the idea. Great. So now you say, but how do I get online with this? You need to have some sort of streaming service readily available. You could use Facebook Live. You could use YouTube Live. You could use Twitch, which I'm just starting to get the hang of. It's this one. I believe this is more of a gaming platform, but hey, that means it's going to have the most robust infrastructure you could imagine. So I created myself a free account here, Anderson Sound Recording, and I can put myself online if I so choose. At least I should be able to. There we go. And I'm going to go to Creator Dashboard, which is where all of my controls are going to be. Now, the two things you need for streaming, actually three things really. Number one, you need a good internet connection. You can use iPhones as a hotspot. You can use your onboard whatever Wi-Fi. I'm using Cat 5 going directly into a Verizon router, but hopefully that'll be enough. If you're not sure how fast your internet connection is, number one, you can do a quick speed test. Speed tests aren't the most reliable things in the world, but it can give you at least some idea of what your connection speeds are. We'll see how fast mine is. Apparently not very fast at all. Verizon made a liar out of me now. And of course, we're more concerned with upload than download speeds. We could care less about that. But I'll show you how to run a test in OBS. So in OBS, when we go to settings, there's a few settings we should be cognizant of. Number one, since this is I'm just trying to make sure. So I would select my service here, right? Once I've got myself connected, I would get my service. So it already has certain presets for YouTube, for Facebook. We're using Twitch at the moment. Stream key, we'll get to that in a second. This is important. We can do some scaling here, but we're gonna do something a little easier. One thing I want to point out to you is that under Advanced and Network, you want to dynamically change bit rate to manage congestion. If you are on an internet connection that is going to be throttling up and down, which can often be the case, especially with Wi-Fi, not a bad idea to have OBS throttling its output to match. Otherwise, you end up with dropped frames, frozen connections, all kinds of fun stuff. You can still end up with that, but this will help you to avoid that. Good. So we want that. Your stream key you need to get from your streaming service. So if you did Facebook Live, there's an easy way to do it. We're obviously using Twitch, so I go to my stream managing menu here under Preferences, Channel. Here's my primary stream key. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go to OBS, and I'm going to paste it here. Command V. And I'll hit OK. Now, if you want to make sure that you can have the bandwidth that you need, you can run their auto configuration wizard. And you could be recording this right to your computer so that if you want to upload it later somewhere else or whatever, you can do that. But we are streaming, not just recording. You can set your base canvas to whatever. Usually I'll just go right for 30, but let's just go with that. We're not doing any fancy stuff. I'm going to paste my latest stream key in there. And I'm going to go with this. And now it'll actually run a quick test to see what the settings could be. I'm not too concerned here because I have pretty good up and download speeds. But if you had a questionable connection with much lower speeds, then this could be crucial for you to have a successful stream. And so that's under Tool, Auto Configuration Wizard, but you need your stream key before you do this, because it's actually going to go live for a second, just testing your bandwidth. It's almost done. And so this is the settings it has determined. We'll apply them. Someone more sophisticated than I with streaming could probably give you some better ideas, but we'll take a look and see what they got going on. But the main thing I'm always concerned about is this. Good. So we're all ready to go. The last thing we need to do is to start streaming. Once you do that, you should see yourself on your channel. And it's getting the stream going live, and there I am on Twitch. So once you're here, you could be working with all kinds of fun stuff. So there are ways to interact with your users. So for one thing, they do have a chat going while you're live streaming. So there I am. And you're going to hear probably a little bit of an echo. Let me take my monitors down here. So let's take those down a wee bit, so as not to drive ourselves crazy. And so I can interact with viewers while I'm doing this. Eventually I'll upload this somewhere else, but when I'm all done with the class, I can sign off, go to OBS, and stop my stream. Oh, we should switch, right? We should make it fancy and switch once or twice. And you'll see there's a delay in the stream, no doubt. Yep, I didn't go fast enough. Hold on. Let me make the switch while you can see it. So there'll always be a bit of a delay. Right? And we'll wait a second while it goes. There it is. And we can even play back some audio if you like. Now I have to route my main audio in Pro Tools in 5 and 6 because I'm taking advantage of that loopback feature. So setting it for my analog 1 and 2 wouldn't work in my case, but whatever audio routing you decide to use is up to you. And so if I go here, I should be some of that audio. So there you go. Sign off, so I'm gonna stop streaming. Let's do that. I could save this. So hopefully that's useful for you. I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and maybe I'll put it on Zoom as well so people can look at it there. If you have any questions, you can email me at andersonsoundrecording@gmail.com. That's andersonsoundrecording@gmail.com. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Have a great night and take care.